Hello, and welcome to my tutorial on how to solve the 2x2x2 cube blindfolded. Blindfolded solving is different than normal speed solving because you're not able to see the cube while you're moving it. So you only know where the pieces were before you made any turns. Because of this, you want to solve the pieces one at a time while leaving the rest of them in the same spot. To illustrate the way that we solve the cube, we will think of the cube as a factory. Now the 2x2 has 8 different pieces, and we'll think of each of those pieces as a different colored die. And then each piece on the cube has a certain spot that it needs to go into. And we'll think of each of those spots as a different colored box. So in the solve position, each die is in the correctly colored box. What do we do if the factory is in a scrambled position, such as this? There are 2 moves we can make. The black box is attached to a switch machine. If you press go on the switch machine, it switches the die in the black box with the die in the box below it, like that. The other move we can make is to move this conveyor belt that the boxes are on. So we can move it so that any box is below the switch machine. But we want to make sure that we always move the white back to the middle. So to solve this, we look at the black box and see the red die. So we move the red box below it, press go on the switch machine. Now the red die is in the red box, and we move it back so the white's in the middle. And then yellow's in the switch machine, so move to yellow, press go and switch, and then move white back to the middle. Now blue is in the switch machine, so we move the blue box below it, press go, and these switch, and then we want to move white back to the middle. Now look at the switch machine, orange is inside, so we move the orange box below it, and switch, move back to white. Now green is in the switch machine, so move green below it, switch, move back to white. Now white is in the switch machine, so we don't have to move the conveyor belt at all, just switch. And now purple is in the switch machine, so move purple below the conveyor belt, switch, move white back to the center, and now black is in the switch machine, which is correct because the switch machine is attached to the black box. And as you can see, the factory is now in the solve position. Now when we apply this idea back to the 2x2, this position is the black box, and this position is the white box, and the switching machine is the Y-Perm, which is an algorithm that switches them and does nothing else. And the Y-Perm is F, R, U prime, R prime, U prime, R, U, R prime, F prime, R, U, R prime, U prime, R prime, F, R, F prime. As you can see, these 2 pieces have swapped and everything else has been left unchanged. The idea of the conveyor belt is a little more tricky, but basically it just takes any sticker and moves it to this position right here, which is the white box. So for example, this sticker, we can do D2R, and it's now in the white box. And then you can undo it to put it back. One very important thing that you need to keep in mind is that this piece is going to be swapped with whatever piece you put right here. So you need to leave it right here. So when you're doing setup moves, you can use F's, R's, and D's. But don't do any move that disrupts this piece. You want it to stay right there. So now let's solve this 2x2 using the Y-Perm as the switching machine and setup moves as the conveyor belt. So first we look in the black box, and we see this is orange with yellow and green, which needs to go right here. So in order to get this here, we'll do D, R, and then Y-Perm, and then the reverse of dr, which is r prime d prime. So now that piece is solved. Now we look back at the black box. This is white with green and red, which needs to go here. That's already in the right position, so we just need to do a Y-Perm. Now we look back at the black box. This is red with yellow and blue. So this is the red side. It needs to go right here. So to put this piece in the white box, we'll do R, F prime. Now it's here. Now do a Y-Perm. and the reverse of RF prime, which is FR prime. Now look back at the black box. This is orange with green and white, which needs to go right here. So to get this to the white box, we'll do an F, and then Y-Perm, and then F prime. And now the 2x2 is solved. So now we know how to solve the factory, or the 2x2, but how do we do it blindfolded? Well, because the switching machine only switches 2 pieces and leaves the rest the same, we know what's going to happen if we just look at the position it's in to start. So the first move we want to make is blue, because the blue piece is in the switch machine. And doing that move is going to switch blue with the piece that's in the blue box, which is white. So after that move is done, blue is going to be solved, and white's going to be in the switch machine. So now we know that the second move needs to be white. The piece in the white box is red. So the third move is going to be red. And then the piece in the red box is green. So the fourth move is going to be green. And the piece in the green box is black, which will go back to the switch machine. So that'll be solved. So blue goes to blue, and then white will go to the switch machine. White goes to white, and then red will go to the switch machine. Red goes to red, and then green goes to the switch machine. And then green goes to green, and black goes to the switch machine. So our 4 moves are blue, white, red, green. So we have that memorized, blue, white, red, green. And if we do that sequence of moves, blue, white, red, green. Now the factory is in the solve position. The same applies for the 2x2, but it's a little trickier to memorize because instead of having 1 color, each piece has 3. And you could memorize the 3 colors on each piece, but it's more effective just to use letters. So you apply 1 letter to each sticker. I will go over the standard lettering scheme, which is called SPEFs. And in this scheme, you put white on top, green on front, and then give the pieces these letters: A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X. So in this case, we'll look at the black box, which we'll now call the buffer, and we see that it's red with green and yellow, and that needs to go here, which is the letter P. And then this piece is yellow with green and orange, which needs to go right here, and that's a U. So the letters are P and U. So first we'll execute P, that's F prime, Y-Perm, F. And then for U, you can do F2, Y-Perm, F2. And now it's solved. So 2 letters wasn't really that hard to memorize, but when you have a bunch of them, it gets harder. So what we do is take 2 letters and turn them into an image. So for this scramble, you look at the buffer, that's white, orange, green, which needs to go here, and that's the letter D. And then this is orange, yellow, green, which needs to go here, and that's the letter G. So DG, we could think of a dog. And then this is orange, blue, yellow, which goes right here, and that's H. And then this is red, blue, white, which goes right here, and that's N. So for HN, we could think of honey. And then this is white, green, red, which goes here, and that's C. And then this is blue with yellow and red, which goes right here, and that's T. So CT, we can think of a cat. So our memorization was DG, dog, HN, honey, CT, cat. So I would combine those all together and picture a dog giving honey to a cat. So then, to solve it, we solve D, F2, D, R2, Y-Perm, and then undo R2, D prime, F2. Then G, right here, D, R, Y-Perm, R prime, D prime, and then H, right here, D2, F prime, Y-Perm, F, D2, and then N, R2, F prime, Y-Perm, F, R2, and then the cat, C, which is just Y-Perm, and then T, which is D prime, F prime, Y-Perm, F, D. And now the 2x2 is solved. So now you know the basics of how to solve a 2x2 blindfolded. But there are some cases that we haven't learned how to deal with yet, and this is one of them. So you look at the switch machine and you see the orange die. So move the orange box and then switch. And then you move the conveyor belt back so that white is in the middle. And now black is in the switch machine, which is solved. But there are still some pieces that are not solved. So what do? So we will temporarily place the black die into one of the unsolved boxes. And this is called breaking into a new cycle. So you take the piece that's in the buffer and switch it with one of the unsolved pieces. Luckily, white is unsolved, so we don't have to do any moving. So we'll just switch these two. Now purple is in the switch machine. So we can move purple over, do a switch, move white back to the middle, and now white is in the switch machine. So now when we do the switch, black will be back in the switch machine and everything is solved. So that is what you do when the correct piece gets back to the buffer, but you're still not done. Let's look at an example of breaking into a new cycle on a 2x2. So we'll look at the buffer, and we see the green with white and orange. That needs to go here, which is I. So we'll do F2R to set it up, and then a Y-Perm, and then R prime F2. Now look at the buffer, it's solved. But the cube's not solved. So we need to pick an unsolved piece. Let's do this one. And the easiest way to put this in to the swap position is just to do an R prime. So then we'll do Y-Perm, and then an R. So now if we look in the buffer, this needs to go to yellow with red and green, which is right here. So we'll do D, R2, then Y-Perm, and then R2, D prime, and then look back at the buffer, and that goes right here. So we'll just do, once again, R prime, Y-Perm, R, and now it's solved. Now the other weird case cannot be illustrated with the factory because each piece has only one color. But on the 2x2, each piece has 3 colors, and they can be rotated wrong. So as you can see, this piece is in the right position, which is good, but it's twisted, which is not good. So I'm going to show you how to fix that. You want to memorize the letter that has either yellow or white on it, and then memorize the letter that is in the position of yellow or white. So in this case, we'd see yellow's right here. So we'd memorize K, and then the yellow's supposed to go right here. So we'd memorize V. So KV, maybe you can memorize Kevlar. So to solve this, set K up right here, do a Y-Perm, and then undo, and then we want to do V. So set that up, Y-Perm, and then undo. And now it's solved. When you're memorizing, you're not able to see where the pieces are going to go after you apply your moves. So how do you know when you're done memorizing? How do you know that you've not missed something? There's an equation to make sure that you're done, and that is the number of letters plus the number of solved pieces minus the number of times you've broken into a new cycle minus the number of twisted pieces equals 7. And when we say twisted pieces and solved pieces, that does not count the buffer. That's all the rest of them. So for example, this has 7 solved pieces, not including the buffer. So that equals 7. So we're all good. Okay, so now we're going to take everything that we've learned and apply it to a real solve. So I'm going to put white on top, green on front, and scramble using this scramble. R2, F, U2, R prime, U, F2, R prime, U2, R2. Now the thing about 2x2 is that there are no centers, so you can always put at least one piece in the solve position. I like to put the yellow, orange, and blue piece in the solve position since it's right below the buffer, and it's the one that's farthest away from the swap position. So I'll put that in the solve position. Now look at the buffer. This is white, orange, and green, which needs to go here, and that's the letter D. And then this is red, blue, yellow, which goes here, and that's O. So my first 2 letters are D, O. So for that, I'll memorize a doe, like a female deer. And then this piece is green with yellow and red. That needs to go here, which is K. And then this piece goes back to the buffer. So far we have D, O, K, and then 1 solved piece, which adds up to 4. That's not 7, so we need to break into a new cycle. So let's look for an unsolved piece that we haven't memorized so far. I always look at C first because it's the easiest to do, and this one is actually unsolved. So let's go to C. So we had K, now C, so I'll memorize kicking. And then this piece is yellow, green, orange. That needs to go here, which is U. And then this piece is green with red and white, and that goes here, which is J. So for that, I'd memorize my Uncle John, U-J. So now we went back to this piece, which is the piece we broke into a new cycle on. So that cycle is done. So far we have a doe, kicking, Uncle John. That's 6 letters. Add 1, because we have a solved piece, that's 7. But subtract 1 because we broke into a new cycle, that's 6. So we're not quite done. Now we haven't touched this piece yet, and it's in the right position, but it's twisted. So we want to shoot to the white sticker, which is N, and then shoot to the white position, which is B. So NB, I'll memorize a notebook. So now we have a doe kicking Uncle John's notebook. That's 8 letters, plus 1 for the solved piece is 9, minus 1 for the time we broke into a new cycle, and then minus 1 for the twisted corner. So 9 minus 1 is 7. And that's exactly what we want it to be. So now we're ready to go. It all adds up to 7. So the memo is good. Let's get started. So the first letter was D. We'll set that up using F2, D, R2, and then do a Y-Perm. And then undo the setup, R2, D prime, F2. The next letter is O. So to set up, we'll do R, F prime, Y-Perm, F, R prime. Now the next letter is K, which is right here. So set up with an R, Y-Perm, and then R prime. The next letter is C, which has no setup, so we'll just do a Y-Perm. Next letter is U, so we'll do F2, Y-Perm, F2. The next letter is J. So we'll do F, R, Y-Perm, R prime, F prime. Next letter is N. So I'll do R2, F prime, Y-Perm, F, R2, and then the last letter is B. So I'll do R2, D, R2, Y-Perm, R2, D prime, R2. And now we have solved the 2x2. Thanks for watching this tutorial on how to solve the 2x2 blindfolded. I hope that it helped. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. Now I'm going to show every single setup move for every single sticker, which is not necessary, but if you are getting stuck on which setup moves to do, go ahead and watch it. So A is already on the buffer, there's no setup move. B, we'll do R2, D, R2, and then the inverse is R2, D prime, R2. C is already in the right position, so we have no setup move. D, we'll do F2, D, R2, and then the inverse is R2, D prime, F2. E is on the buffer, so we never have to shoot to that. F is right here. The setup is just F, and then the undo is F prime. G is right here. The setup is D, R, and then the inverse is R prime, D. H is right here. The setup is D2, F prime, and then the inverse is F, D2. I is right here. The setup is F2, R, and then the inverse is R prime, F2. J is right here. The setup is F, R, and the inverse is R prime, F. K is right here. The setup is just R. The inverse is R prime. L is right here. The setup is F prime, R. The inverse is R prime, F. M is right here. The setup is R prime, F prime. The inverse is FR. N is right here. The setup is R2, F prime. And then the inverse is FR2. O is right here. The setup is R, F prime. The inverse is F, R prime. P is right here. The setup is F prime. The inverse is F. Q is right here. The setup is R prime. The inverse is R. R is right here, and that's on the buffer, so we never shoot to it. S is right here. The setup is D2, R. The inverse is R prime, D2. T is right here. The setup is D prime, F prime. The inverse is F, D. U is right here. The setup is F2. The inverse is F2. V is right here. The setup is D, R2. The inverse is R2, D prime. W is right here. The setup is R2. And the inverse is R2. And finally, X is right here. The setup is D prime, R2. And the inverse is R2, D. So those are all the setup moves that you'll need to know. Once again, thanks for watching, and good luck with your blind solving.